Everyone, let's wrap up April. There are not that many videos to talk about because I didn't review that many books and didn't have any time for other videos. But the ones we had were really interesting. We talked about new releases and I really liked your uptake on things and Sue's video response, but also I really liked how many people pointed out things that I missed. Like the immense prices of new releases, that they are often more expensive because they come in hardbacks a lot of times. So that's one reason why a lot of you don't buy new releases. Another one is that we may buy the new release when it's new, but when we actually get to reading it, it might be a year or two. And that was a point I totally forgot. Thank you very much for reminding me of that, because that happened to me a lot. Loved the discussion. Thank you very much. We also talked about our goals. I shared how I was doing with my goals and you told me how you were doing with your goals and what we're planning to do next. Let's see how that works out. But I loved hearing your thoughts. Thank you very much. Also, thank you for your thoughts on my very, very short letter to April. Yeah, I didn't really do much. Sorry. Next month will be longer again. And that already brings us to the books. I finished sequels. That's why I didn't review that much or talk about that many books. I finished the Osiris Ritual, which is the second book in the Newbery and Hobbs series. You may know that I have been reading this slightly out of order. I started with the third book, then read the first, and this is the second. So I'm a little confused as to the order of things or how they happen. But these are basically steampunk mysteries in an occult setting. Sort of like that. I really enjoy them. I like the writing, they are fun to read, the characters are fun, and the world building, or the world in general, is very interesting. So I highly recommend this series for people who love steampunk. I also finished Wolves of the Calla by Stephen King, which is the fifth book in the Dark Tower series. I'm still continuing with the series. It took me a little bit to read this, but not as long as it could have, because the story was much more captivating again than in the fourth book, which, dragged forever. I am not a big fan of Stephen King's writing, I have to say. He takes too long to get to the point, but when he's in the mood, he just spoils everything by foreshadowing blatantly in your face instead of just doing it subtle. And so that's parts that annoy me, because oftentimes we get told something that we already know because he basically told us in one sentence ages ago. And I don't know. But it's always fun to be back in the world. But at some point I just want to be done with the book. That's my experience with every book in the series. I don't know. I also read 2 ebooks. I've reread How to Marry a Werewolf by Gail Carriger, which is a fun novella in the Parasol Protectorate world with Channing of the Chesterfield Channings. And it's fun. I've read it like 4 times already, I think. And I really enjoy it. It's a breeze-through novella, fun story. And you know me, I like Gail Carriger's writing and I love to be in that world. So it was fun. I also read The Tea Master and the Detective, which is a science fiction novella in some kind of universe where I think a lot of people wrote books in. I'm really bad at describing that. I basically just rushed through it in 2 days. It's 100 pages. It's very difficult to get into the mindset of this world, especially when you're tired, mostly when you're reading it. But once I got there, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the world building with ship mines and different planets and deep spaces. But I cannot tell you exactly how everything works. But it was a fun story. Then I also listened to quite a few audiobooks. I reviewed Locke Key, which is a full cast audio drama of the graphic novels, which I never read. I go more into details what I liked and what I didn't like about the audio adaptation in the video. Overall, I think it was a good way for me to get to the story finally, but I don't think it's the most enjoyable way to get to the story, if you know what I mean. I also listened to Red Carpets and Other Banana Skins by Rupert Everett, which is an autobiography, and I really enjoyed it. I basically got it because I wanted to have something fun and easy to listen to after Locke Key, and it was read by him, and who wouldn't want to listen to that? So I went into this blind and I found out a lot that I did not know about Rupert Everett before, which is basically nothing. Let's be honest, I've seen a few of his films. That's all I know about him. And he just lives in a different world. Like all his childhood and his upbringing and everything that he talks about, it's just a completely different world. And it's so much fun to look into that. So I can highly recommend it for that. The last audiobook I finished in April was Calypso by David Sedaris. And I've read a few of David Sedaris books and I've listened to some. And I have discovered that I like listening to them more. In the reading parts with, I don't know, especially the last one I read, I don't remember if it was Naked or one of the others, I got bored by the stories because they're all about his life and his life is crazy and we all know that by now, but reading it kind of got tedious. But when he reads it to you, it's much more fun, especially since most of the audiobooks have at least one or two of the essays in live performances, so that's highly enjoyable. Other than that, I thought this book was much more grown up. He's in his 50s now. He talks about being in his 50s and his sister's suicide and all these things, how that affected his life and how his life is going in his 50s. It's not as crazy as it used to be in his earlier books where he was younger and more weird. He's still weird, but in a more settled way. The last book I want to talk about, I didn't finish, but I'm not really sure if I want to finish it. And that's Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. I know, right? Everybody was raving about this book years ago, and it's been on my wish list forever. So I was very happy when I saw that in a secondhand store in January. And I hate it. I can't get into the writing. I'm very annoyed by the main character, and who's also the narrator. He sounds like a 12-year-old teenager, but he's supposed to be an early 20-something. And everything is just, I don't know, clumsily written. The story itself is not very interesting. It's rather boring. And I'm 170 pages in. I have 120 to go. And I just don't feel like picking it up again. I really don't know. The worst thing is that I read Sourdough by Robin Sloan, which I liked. The writing was amazing in that book. It just flew through it. And I liked everything about it. So how can this one be so much different and so much worse? So if you want to spoil me for the ending, do so. Overall, I had a very good reading month in April. I got to tick off some sequels that I've been meaning to get to and also fun books. What can be bad about that? So let me know in the comments how your April was. Did you have a good reading month, bad reading month? What was the best thing you read? Or why did you like Mr. Penumbra's Bookstore? You can also tell me that. And hope we're having a good May. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.